I'd like to welcome Josh Proud. As lead design engineer on many projects, Josh's responsibilities have included management, estimation, design, manufacture, construction, commissioning and product support. He was a lead engineer for the design and development of a mobile mining plant for Iluka Resources, which won the Products and Manufacturing Division at the 2010 Engineering Excellence Awards. Currently at Calibre Minerva, Josh is in charge of building business by offering technical solutions to clients in Australia and around the world. Please welcome Josh.
Thanks, James. I'll start with a quote also. One of my favourite people, Neville Smith. He says that good ideas don't just fade away, they're slaughtered by rampaging squads of middle managers. I'd like to present a few ideas today, and there's a few of you here, so I hope I don't get slaughtered. My name is Josh Proud. I'm born and bred Victorian from Ballarat. Don't hold that against me yet. I've lived around Australia and travelled around the world, but my wife and I made a conscious decision to return to this wonderful state to raise our kids. I've worked in heavy manufacturing, fabrication and construction my whole career. I'm currently lead mechanical engineer and manager of technical solutions at Calibre Minerva. We are a multidisciplined engineering consultancy team based in Melbourne, providing innovative and cost-effective engineering and design solutions to the resources, bulk materials handling and mineral processing industries throughout Australia and around the world. My area of expertise is in engineering and design of materials handling and minerals processing plant and equipment. Plant and equipment which you may not be familiar with, such as primary crushing plants, overland conveyors, slurry pumping and piping systems, and grinding and milling. This is a diverse crowd from many manufacturing sectors, and we all think about manufacturing in different ways. Coming from the mining industry, manufacturing to me means thousands of tonnes of steel and custom processing equipment. I'm flying to China on Monday, where I'll be inspecting a mining equipment manufacturer whose output is 200,000 tonnes of equipment per year. This is just one facility of many in China, and for all the Australian major projects I've been involved with in my career, the majority of the structural and equipment manufacturers come from offshore. China, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Korea have all played key roles in the procurement of bulk steel and equipment for Australian projects. Mining has a good and a bad name, but it's a terrific combination of belts and braces, robustness, combined with highly advanced mechanical, electrical and control infrastructure. It's an aggressive environment where everything has to work from day one. There is one thing designing, building something on a production line where you trial and test and try again, test again. The other world is my world, where we design once, we implement, and we press the button and hope it all works. I'm very proud to be a part of the mining industry in Australia. It is a terrific tradition, has many avenues for development, different other industries. The mining game is not locked down by policy and procedure. There are many new evolving ways to do things, and although some are hesitant, many mining companies are open to fresh, innovative ideas, especially if it's going to save people money. The mining industry in Australia has and continues to change. We've been through over a decade of huge growth, many new mines, huge investment in mining, infrastructure, mines, rail, road. This has led to huge growth in the construction and manufacturing related industries. But the boom in construction has ended, China is slowing, resource prices are dropping, basically the world has ended, thousands of engineers, thousands of construction workers and thousands of support staff now without jobs and sitting in the pub waiting for the next gig. This is our time, but is it our time to pack up the workshop, or is it time to reset and time for the next boom? We could discuss in depth whether Australia has taken full advantage of this boom in construction. To do this properly would require a lot longer time slot. However, I'd like to touch on a few key points that relate to manufacturing in Victoria, which I believe would contribute to future opportunities in the mining sector. In 2010, following the completion of a large iron ore mine in WA, whose entire plant was manufactured in China, a study was done. They love doing studies, everything has to have a study, which proved that when all the quality assurance, transport, on-site rectification work was taken into consideration, there was a total saving of 10% when compared with Australian manufacture. I'm currently working on a project in Laos, in Asia, involving a couple of 100 tonne of steel, which we are designing, and short time frames. In this case, we're looking at sourcing the steelwork from Thailand. In analysing tenders for the steelwork, I noticed that the price per tonne of steel supplied, manufactured and painted from Thailand was exactly the same as steel I procured from Perth in 2011, which was arguably the peak of the mining boom. These are interesting case studies. Maybe this proves what we all thought. I've always had the perception that the quality of manufacture in China is not comparable to what we can do here, and that rectification negates the savings. At the same time, we have the perception that we cannot compete with China for manufacturing, contrary to the data. Earlier this year, I watched a presentation by the head of a prominent engineering organisation. Her take on the vast Australian manufacturing industry was that Australia could not compete with the likes of Asian suppliers, and we needed to focus on more smart, skillful industries where volume was not so critical, technology-based industries where world market was easier to break into. I never got the chance to debate the topic with her. We'll always have smart people that don't know how or don't want to program a computer. We'll always have people who just want to cut and weld steel. What are these people going to do? She was right about one thing though. We do have smart people. So what do we have in Victoria that others do not? We have the ability to develop world-class ports, roads, rail infrastructure. We have a continuous energy supply. We have a large, stable workforce. Places such as WA and Queensland struggle with labour in cities. The lure of the mines and all the mighty dollar is far too great for many people, resulting in high turnover of staff. We don't have that in Melbourne and Victoria. What else do we need to compete on the world stage in manufacture? What's against us? We are very expensive. Our quality of life is extraordinarily good. But so is Germany. And they are still one of the world leaders in manufacture. Not just steel and equipment, but in all kinds of sectors. They suffer from the same challenges as us. The one delineating factor is that they are very smart and they use this intelligence to always challenge the world's supply chain. They do this by developing the world's best products, by having the best manufacturing processes, and by being disciplined in their approach. We also have a very large pool of very smart people. Melbourne has some of the world's best universities and training centres. Being available to manufacture steel equipment for the next big mine is one opportunity. We can compete. It's not much to reduce our costs by 10%. We all have a challenge in the short term as growth in the Australian mining industry looks to be limited. Large construction projects will be few and far between for some time. But this gives us time to put systems in place to close the gap, tighten our costs, by less than 10%, and our marketing and market our capabilities. Although we design plants to be constructed, we mostly design them to be operated. We design plants to operate as efficiently as possible with minimal operating costs. This means that they require minimal continuous investment. There is always room in the market for innovative products. And with technology coming out of other dyeing manufacturing industries, I'm sure the next generation of conveyor components, of crusher components, is just around the corner. For these innovative technologies, we don't need to compete. No one else will be doing it. The challenge for us is supporting our own industry. If we can invent products that make our local industry more competitive, people will want to invest more here, resulting in further expansion. At the end of the day, whether you like it or not, Australia is a mining country. We supply the world with our resources, so what we need to do is be the leader in mining-related technology. We shouldn't need to import from Asia. There are plenty of opportunities for development. It's just a matter of knowing the challenges and meeting the needs of the users. In summary, investment we make now will set us up for the opportunities of the future. As Asia grows, so does their cost base. Their labour costs will increase by significant amounts, whereby investing in technology, by having the processes and systems to be highly efficient, our costs will continue to fall. We can compete on a global scale. We won't take much to close the price gap. We need to maintain our reputation for high quality, and by utilising the resources we have available to us, we can change the game to at least support our own industry and furthermore become a world supplier.
I'd like to now introduce George Argrew, Managing Director of the Hickory Group, which I of course thought was brass, but it's not. George started his career as a carpenter and is a fourth generation builder. George and his brother Michael founded Hickory Group in 1991, and more than 20 years on, George has forged a reputation as one of the construction industry's most dynamic leaders. George is a champion of innovation, focused on constantly improving Hickory Group's building practices, sourcing the newest materials and methods, and establishing the group's own prefabricated building systems. Under George's unique leadership, Hickory Group is known as one of Australia's preeminent construction groups with over 400 employees, and is leading the world in project delivery methods that constantly outperform on measures of time, cost, quality and sustainability. Please welcome George.
Thank you guys, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to give you a bit of a builder's version of where we've come from and how we've become a manufacturer, and learning a lot. We build predominantly towers in Melbourne, all across Australia, high-rise buildings. One of the towers you see on the left there is happening in Collins Street now. It's 67 stories. We're a self-performing business. We have our own form workers, carpenters, concreters. And we're very in touch with the nuts and bolts that go into a building. We're not a project management firm. So then we got into manufacturing of prefabricated buildings with Nonda Katsoulides, a famous architect, who cracked the code. He was able to design a cube that could locate within a millimetre. Therefore, we could build the building in pieces, as you see there on the right, and put components in it and finish it and install it very quickly. And we built buildings in 7-8 days. It's really, really cool. And that was a journey. I mean, it was new. We're the world leaders. There's no one else in the world that's doing it other than the Americans at the moment. They're doing a 36-story. Kind of having some troubles at the moment. Could have told them it was pretty hard to do. So when we set up the facility, we set up a major facility in Brooklyn, and it was all about it. It was all manufacturing. Huh? So we bought a machinery building company. We built the machines, which is the worst thing we ever did in our lives. But we then, the floor came through, and we started installing. Projectors looked at the floor, and we installed the components of the building, such as the bathroom. So we modularised the bathroom. Modularised bathrooms have been used all around through Europe for the last 40 years. Australia, it's us and another company that's doing it. It's kind of a bit crazy. Builders don't like change. They just don't like it. So if you're going to make change, you need to make significant change. Because we are also the builder, change is a little bit easier for us, but still very difficult. So during the process of building, unitised building, UB, where the floor came through, we built the bathroom, we designed this innovation of this bathroom technology, which is fantastic. Now that business has got about 4,000 bathrooms on order and supplies most of our competitors. So it's a business within itself. If you look carefully at the construction industry, there is so much value that you guys in this room could add. I went 20 years in construction. The last 2-3 years I've been focused on manufacturing. I've learned more in the first year of focusing on manufacturing than I did in my whole career as a builder. Builders aren't that smart. Like, it's really not that smart. So at the moment, that building on the right there is a building that we're putting up in Latrobe Street next year. It's a component, and we call it a cold shell. We used to finish buildings completely inside with the kitchens and everything. Now we don't do that. We just do a structure with a concrete floor, a bathroom, all the Rio and everything that's needed for the core and the shear walls, which is in tall buildings. We need mass to hold the building for accelerated the load, the wind loads and everything. And by doing that, the modules are the weakest link, right? So in the sequence of building a building. So as fast as we can put modules up is as fast as we're going to build the building. The last project we did in WA about a month ago, we put 25 modules in a day. That particular building is 8 modules per floor. So we're just conservatively going to do a floor per day of a 43-storey tower in Melbourne. The technology that we've got is world leading. So China's been trying to come up with this technology and spending trillions of dollars for a long time to export real buildings around the world. They haven't been able to do it. We've exported that technology now. But funny enough, just like the bathrooms, the transport costs are so much more than the labour cost to build them locally that it's an industry that has legs, never get taken away. Because to bring a big box on a ship costs a lot more than making it here. So it's a real industry that can last for a long time. To be honest, interesting enough, if the car industry was treated like the construction industry, we would have been paying $1 million for a Commodore, and not one of them would be the same, you know. So that industry is very fat, and it's lots of waste, and it's constant improvement, but change is difficult, so it doesn't get improved fast enough. In our facility now, we have hired predominantly, all of our management is from automotive. They're all ex-Holden workers, to be honest. And most of our staff on the floor are from the automotive industry. Because you put a builder in a manufacturing plant, it's destructive. He looks at the drawing and goes, I'm not doing that. Put A where B is supposed to be and B where A is supposed to be. We use full BIM technology. We design and engineer the buildings. From that design, it talks direct to the machines. The components come out of our system and it's just purely bolted together. And we get better quality, less waste. That's pretty cool. So you can see some buildings. To start from an architectural drawing, that's a building that we built in Moonee Ponds. That took us about 9 days, I think, to build that tower. That comes with structural mapping. Units are identified. This is a little bit of the old system in there, but units identified and modularised up. The components are identified. A full BIM, a full bill of materials come out of it. The design has a binary code. That binary code talks to our machine, so we take away the human error. In construction, like anything else, it's either there's two things going on: design and human error. Design we fix by prototyping. There's a lot of talk about prototyping before. It's essential, which confirms design, and human error we fix by process. So if you look at every stage of our factory, in every element, from the sub-assembly to the sub-assembly to a sub-assembly, are all done with eliminating human error from CNC machines and templates. Then we put the building together in the factory. The shop drawings are done, goes together. We assemble it on site, then we commission it. If you look on YouTube, you'll see a lot of our buildings on there that go up in really short periods of time. What else? And like I said before, a company came out of our sub-assemblies. So as we were building sub-assemblies, we started building our bathrooms. We build a couple of thousand apartments per annum as the parent company. So Hickory, modularisation is 5% of our business. It's my main passion, and I've stuck to it because I love it. Because I want to make a change to our industry and a difference. But bathrooms now, we will not build a tower or a building without a modularised bathroom because it's dumb to do it any other way. The quality, the sustainability and the warranty issues that we used to get, which came straight out of bottom line, are now eliminated. We do really high-end product out of these bathrooms. Our bathrooms then are now sold throughout all of our competitors, predominantly interstate, because it's embarrassing when they bring their customers to our factory, because we're a builder too. So, but they're amazing. The orders are still going. So one of our facilities, which is about 20,000 metres, is completely taken up by bathrooms now. We're always chasing to outsource a lot of our manufacturing too, because our primary business is construction. But we could never do that till our systems were so robust and orders, there was enough orders to get out there. And now we're at that stage where we have got lots of orders because it makes a difference. So that Latrobe Street project that we are doing next year was a straight out tender against other builders, which are much smaller builders than us. Was the same time to build it conventionally was 28 months, because it's a really skinny little building and they're a bit of a pain. And our contract there is 12 months. So we're about the same number in cost, a little bit less from what we know. But our timing, we do know we were significantly faster. That doesn't... Oh, sorry, I can keep talking for ages. Anyway, I hope that's something. So if you just look in front of you, in other industries, other sectors, there is so much that that you guys as manufacturers can offer, because you're so much smarter than what the people are doing it at the moment. There you go.
Thank you very much, George. So we've got a couple of controversial things that we've come up with today. One about dentists and one about builders so far. Let's hope we get some more. Thank you very much, George. Terrific. Amazing stuff. We now have the Educate panel session. So I'd like to assemble our Opportunities panel session together. Josh, would you please come back on stage, and also George. And I'd also like to welcome Richard Simpson of Furnace Engineering and Ron Weinzel of Australian Precision Technologies to join us on stage. Now, by way of an introduction, Richard Simpson is the Managing Director of Furnace Engineering and has been with the company for 18 years. Prior to this, Richard held leadership roles in design, engineering design, project management and sales within Furnace Engineering and with the Ford Motor Company. Furnace Engineering is an Australian engineering company specialising in the design and manufacture of heat processing equipment for industrial and research purposes. With significant export activity, Furnace Engineering has received several Governor of Victoria export awards. Their projects are as diverse as the first carbon fibre production line installed in Australia to a rare earth metal recycling furnace in the Philippines. Please welcome Richard Simpson. Next, Ron Weinzel is from the Australian Precision Technologies, which first began in 1992 manufacturing components. In 1998, Ron joined the team as Business Director of APT. That's Australian Precision Technologies. Through Ron's knowledge, experience and business savvy, APT has developed profitable opportunities by continuing to exceed the needs of its clients. As a result, APT have utilised its CNC capabilities and QA management systems to develop components for automotive assemblies, transport and railway applications, aerospace solutions, as well as defence industry initiatives, to name a few applications. In addition, APT Planted Technology is ranked in the top 10% of operators in Australia. Please welcome Ron to the stage. My first question is to Richard. Richard, you've focused on diversification in your time and a diversification strategy. How have you approached this, and what have been the major factors in your diversification?
I think someone earlier said on the previous panel that there's nothing like impending doom to really motivate you to do something. We sat down as a management team around about 2000 and recognised that the automotive industry, which had been a big part of our company and was still at that stage a huge part of our company, was going. It was going to go sooner or later, and we needed to find other opportunities. So I think the first thing is that you need a pressing need to drive you. You then need to identify those things that you think you're going to need in order to survive. And those industries that we decided to get into, new areas that we got into, we had to doggedly pursue getting into them. It wasn't easy to get in. Some we were able to get in first time. Some we had to try and try again until we got the right recipes, the right contacts. And by the right recipes, I mean the right manufacturing techniques, the right sales and marketing approach. So I think really the key is, first of all, to identify that you need to do something. Come up with a plan and be prepared to change it, but doggedly pursue that end objective, which for us was to have 5 other businesses in areas which were not going to be dependent on the auto industry.
Yeah, okay, so mitigating your risk.
Yep.
Thank you. Now, Ron, one of your key strengths is business development. How do you go, and what advice can you give to the manufacturers here in how to find those opportunities that are out there, how to source them, I suppose?
Sure. I actually bought my pad and also my folder and my notes that I've been writing down earlier, because I wanted to make sure I talk about opportunity, and I might just hold to that question if you don't mind. I'll give you the answer in a minute. But when I walked in and think about opportunity and sitting up here, I thought, I bought this so you don't show my nerves when I'm shaking, is that networking for me is the key to opportunity. And one of the things is, and I wrote it down just to sort of make sure I do give you a clear, and hopefully you can take something out of what I learned today. The ICN and DSBI, adding that network, putting us together, and even sitting on this panel, the first gentleman I met as I walked in the door was an automotive supplier. Now, our business, APT Engineering, was started in '92. When I joined was in 1998. We were 86% Robert Bosch, making componentry for their fuel systems and alternator lines. We went to a tour at Robert Bosch back then, and they said, they just won GM Supplier of the Year, and they said to us, we're getting out of automotive supply, and all the stuff you're going to do, you need to diversify. So as a business model, we sat back and thought, okay, that's fair enough. I just joined the business. I bought my brother's business partner back out in '96, and we thought, well, so we took it on, and back then in automotive we diversified. But this gentleman that I met, and hopefully I don't go on too much, he's a manufacturer here in Australia that exports, or their company does, and they are looking at setting up an operation which has got to work 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will draw that session to a close now. Thank you very much to our panel. And to close out today, I'd like to welcome, if you gentlemen wouldn't mind staying here while Don comes up to finish today's session. I'd like to introduce Don Matthews, CEO of the Industry Capability Network. Don's background is in human resources and operational management. For 7 years he was president of the SCA Hygiene Australasia, leading the FMCG personal care and tissue business and from 2009 to 11 was Chief Operating Officer for Amcor's Australasian business. In February this year, Don took on the role of Executive Director of the ICN. It's the business matcher, ICN is the business matcher that connects the buyer and the supplier, ensuring that Australian goods and services are used as much as possible in projects large and small. As a not-for-profit company funded by the state government, ICN has an extensive network of sector knowledge consultants skilled at identifying suppliers and service providers, and ICN Gateway, an online client and project database, allows suppliers to browse and register interest. ICN Gateway currently has about $330 billion worth of projects and more than 75,000 suppliers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Don Matthews.
Thanks, James, and good afternoon, everyone. When Philip Butler was up there before, he did say there would be only one other person probably in the room that understood running bells, and that was me. I'm assuming he was being complimentary, but I'm taking it that way. But just a really quick story about how sometimes it can come back to bite you in the bum. When I was running that business, you may recall Mark Tubby Taylor, as Australian opener, came close to breaking Don Bradman's record in Pakistan. We got very close to that world record. In the time I have left, let me try and bring together some of the key themes and insights out of this morning. With our themes of inspire, educate and opportunities, we've heard a lot of stories of success across a range of businesses. And what I'd like to do is pick up those presentations and centre them around what it may mean to you from a business perspective, a people perspective, and from a self perspective. And in the context of business, just a couple of comments. Whilst no one has talked explicitly about strategy and plans, I think we've all picked up that everyone that has spoken today have had a very clearly articulated business model or plan about how they're running their business. So my question to you is, have you got that in place for your own business? Because really a goal without a plan is just a wish. So think about articulating your plan, your strategy, because it does guide the decisions that are made at board level, but also at individual employee level. Thirdly and lastly, in the business side, innovation and change. If you're standing still, if you're not identifying new opportunities, new technologies, new ways of doing business, whether it's internal or external, then you probably have an issue, because I guarantee that you've got a competitor out there that is. Think about how you can disrupt the marketplace through innovation, because therein can lie your competitive advantage. As Jeff said, get yourself in a position where you're prepared to take action when opportunity strikes, and then take it. So remember that. Moving to people and what has been said this morning, and I start with this proposition. As leaders of businesses, you bask in the reflected glory of the people who work for you. Remember that. And therefore, I just pose some questions that have come from the speakers this morning. Do you have the right people in your business to deliver your plan? Do I have the right blend of experience and youth? Again, Alan mentioned about hire some young people. And with hiring with that blend of experience and youth, we get the positive tension that's created with challenging what have been accepted practices and norms. Do I actively engage people in the generation of ideas for improving my business? Are they highly engaged in their work? Do you measure that engagement and do you act on the findings? Do I hold people accountable and challenge them to extend themselves? And are they clear on their deliverables? Do I personally see my people as an investment in the future? Do I invest in their training? Do I provide them with feedback? And do I inspire them to do better? Even a little thing like putting a table tennis table in a cafeteria can work. And finally, have I identified and promoted the leaders in the business? Those individuals, those lieutenants who reflect your values, embrace your vision, whether that's zero harm, zero waste, total customer satisfaction always, and are they people that are going to challenge you? And finally, I pick up on self. Now, no doubt a lot of you in the room have had coaches, mentors, you've probably read books on self-help and self-motivation, etc., etc. But I just want to hone in on a few observations that have emerged this morning within the context of the environment we work in, which is a tough environment, but a positive one as well with a future. And I start with this, which I think is a common theme: perseverance, resilience, and willingness to embrace failure. And while it's not quoting directly any one of the speakers, I'll use a quote from Michael Jordan, that all-time great basketballer, who I think sums it up beautifully. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost over 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted with the winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over in my life, and that is why I succeed. The next point is personal courage and self-belief. Jerry refers to it as sticking to your guns when others are shaking their heads of disbelief. Remember, leaders create and envisage the opportunities, then relentlessly pursue them despite the negatives that exist. My saying to you is back yourselves. And then, most importantly, be conscious of your strengths. And again, another quote from this morning: to inspire, you need to be inspired. Remember that. And the last point, everyone here has talked about networking, building relationships. Recommendation: carve out time in your schedule to be at events like these, at business events, which give you the opportunity to pursue further business for yourselves. So take a second to think about just what you are going, one or two things that you will take out of today, because there has been some important things said. So I encourage you to think about the one or two things that you take back to your business as you leave here today. Okay, before I pass a vote of thanks to everyone involved in the event, I'd like just to mention follow-up. We will be sending out to you an email, which on the one hand will be looking to get your feedback on this event, and we would value that. Secondly, we will be indicating to you upcoming events which you might like to take advantage of, and some of that will revolve around the 80 days involved, which the Minister talked about this morning. We'll also be asking you on what similar type events would benefit you as manufacturers, whether that's around networking, whether it's around innovation, etc. So we'll be asking you to give us some guide about whether there is value in putting these on for not as big as this, but smaller events which may help you. So think about those before you get your email. And now for the thank yous, which takes up the next 10 minutes, the next couple of minutes. To the left, over there, halfway down the hall, there is a food stand with Victorian produce. And there is, as was mentioned earlier on, there is going to be a hamper that goes to each of the speakers and sponsors. We did try to get one for all of you, but it was just, once it got over 200, it was just a bit too much. Whilst there are too many of the food producers to thank personally, just as a whole, we're very grateful to those local food producers who kindly donated their products, so thank you to them. To our sponsors, again, Chisholm, Pitcher Partners, Sereno Russo, Job Access, Regional Development, Eastern and Southern Region, and Aveco, and to our supporters, Cinevision and Jayco. Without your backing, this event would not have been possible, so thank you. To the Minister for Manufacturing, the Honourable David Hodgett, to the CEO of Chisholm, Maria Peters, whose opening comments I thought were spot on, thank you. And of course to all the speakers and panel members who have given of their time, not just to be here today, but in terms of training and preparing, you've done a sensational job, so thank you. To James, who took us through, took on the role of MC, which is not an easy job, as James can attest to. He's been responsible for guiding us through this morning and has done a fantastic job, so thank you, James. And to Jerry Ryan, who for the time this concept of showcasing manufacturing was proposed, has really embraced his role as ambassador and he's approached it with passion. So thank you, Jerry. And finally, the staff at Southern Region BGBO and the staff at ICN. You've made this event a reality. You've demonstrated how working effectively together with industry, we can produce first-class events which that have purpose and meaning. So to the BGBO and to ICN people, thank you very much. Terrific job. And finally, to you people here, The response to this event has been overwhelming, and if anything, it indicates that we do have a bright future as manufacturers in the state. So thank you for coming. So just a round of applause for everyone.
Cinevision, making life easier.